There lives within the BMW brand an elite group of cars. Cars that bring the brand to new heights of luxury and grandeur. We call them the Grand Klasse Luxury. So first up we have the BMW i7. Now obviously this is based off BMW's flagship saloon, the 7 Series, but instead this is the ultimate electric driving machine. Now starting off at the front, you've got the BMW iconic glow kidney grille, which gives it a fantastic effect in the dark, and you also can get the Swarovski crystal elements added into your headlights just to make it that little bit more luxurious. So as we move around to the side of the vehicle, one of the additional features and my favourite features of the BMW i7 or the 7 Series is the automatic closing doors. Simply by just pressing the button or by putting your foot on the brake, you can close the doors so you don't have to do it yourself. You also have this added chrome element here which really highlights the BMW Hofmeister kink. So moving around to the back, and you've got the L-shaped rear lights. You've also got these lovely little blue accents that highlight the innovative drive system of the car. So moving into the rear seats of the BMW i7, and you can really tell that this car was designed from the inside out because it is such a luxurious and comfortable place to be sat. So of course we've got some of our iconic features of this car, and the main one has to be the theatre screen. Now this is the largest screen that has been in the interior of any car before, which really highlights what a luxurious car this actually is to drive. You also can control all of this through your little tablet on the side of your back seats, which also control your heating, heated seats and massage seat functions as well, all in one nice little screen for you in the back here. So moving into the driver's seat of the BMW i7, and it all feels very, very premium. Even from simple things such as the texture of the wood effect, you've got the crystal effect on the ambient lighting, which is also reactive as well. The crystal effect also carries through to your centre console. And of course, you've got the Sky Lounge, which makes it a really light place to sit. So moving on to the BMW X7, and you'll notice that there actually are quite a few similarities between the i7 and the X7, despite them being very, very different cars. So obviously the most notable similarities are at the front, so you've still got your split headlights. As with the i7, you can also get the iconic glow kidney grille lights, and you can get the Swarovski crystal elements in your headlights as well. The big difference between the i7 and the X7, obviously, is just the sheer size of it. Also, the alloy wheels on these ones are the huge 23-inch. So I'm actually now sat in the boot of the BMW X7, and it definitely does not feel like it. Despite the fact that these are the two rear seats of this car, you still have your own sunroof, you still have heated and ventilated seats, you still have your own climate control, because this zone has a 5-zone climate control system. So it means that people in the back, people in the middle and in the front can all have their own air conditioning, heating, depending on who sat there. And you've also still got the continuation of the ambient lighting in here as well, just to tie it all together. So now in the driver's seat of the BMW X7, and it really just emphasises what a luxurious car this is to drive. Similar to the i7, you've still got the continuation of some of the crystal effects on your ambient lighting, but also in this car you've got your heated seats, ventilated seats, and also these have the massage seat functions as well, just to make it that little bit more luxurious. Also, same as the i7, you've got the Sky Lounge in here as well, which obviously you can open fully if it's on a summer's day and you want to open the roof. We've also got the latest BMW system in here as well, which has everything such as Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, as well as all the normal BMW apps that you would expect. So with that all done, let's go and see what these cars are like to drive on the road, starting with the i7. So, on the road in the BMW i7, I have actually driven this car a couple of times before, and every single time I get into it, it just reminds me how lovely and comfortable it is to drive. It can be quite daunting to drive because it's very long, it's a very big car. Even though it is only a saloon, it is still quite a big body base, but it doesn't drive big, it actually drives quite nicely. You can kind of easily see how far you got in front of you. Your mirrors and obviously all your 360 cameras and all that kind of help you to see when you're manoeuvring it. So it doesn't actually drive like that big of a car that you would expect, which does make it really, really nice and easy. It's easily the most luxurious car I've ever driven. It does feel basically like a Rolls Royce, which I believe is essentially what they were trying to do with the car. So that's good to know that's what they've achieved. A couple of the stats to go with this car. So it does get 367 miles of electric range, which is BMW's highest electric range on any electric vehicle that they have, which is pretty impressive. It will easily do long journeys, won't be an issue if you're going on holiday. You can drive it, easily charge it on the way. It does charge pretty quickly as well, so if you go to a high power charging station, it can charge up to 62 miles of range in just 6 minutes, which is very, very impressive. So a couple more numbers while we're doing them. It's 0 to 62 miles an hour is 4.7 seconds, and it does have 544 horsepower under it as well. So when you put your foot down, it definitely goes. So the BMW i7 does actually make driving really easily for you. So you've got lane keeping system, you've got automated parking, you can also park it from your phone as well, which is a very handy little feature. So another one of the features that the BMW i7 has is it has the adaptive air suspension, which basically just makes it really, really smooth to drive. With it being a saloon, it's quite low to the ground, so you would have thought that if you hit some lumps and bumps in the road, we all know how great the roads are around us in the UK, so you're going to hit quite a few and it can be quite uncomfortable, but the adaptive air suspension just means you glide over that and you kind of feel like you're driving a bit of a 4x4. That is kind of the vibes that you get from it, because it feels like you're high off the ground, but you're not. You're still in a saloon, you're still close to the ground. So another feature of the i7 is that it has dual motor all-wheel drive, which essentially means that no matter what the weather's doing outside, no matter what the road's doing, you know the car is kind of going to look after you a little bit, whether it's going to push the power to the front or the back, it's going to look after you and keep you nice and stable on the road. So obviously with this being an electric car, there are a couple of added green bonuses to the i7 as well. So in the interior, it used quite a lot of recyclable materials, recycled plastic to do your interior out. So some of the wood, obviously different bits of the design and some of the accents are all from recycled materials. And also BMW make a really big effort to reduce the carbon footprint of the manufacturing process when they're making the i7 and the electric cars. Just that you feel a little bit better about driving around a car quite as luxurious as this. So with that, the BMW i7 is the ultimate electric vehicle from BMW. It's luxurious, it's fast, it's adaptive, it's pretty much everything you could ever want from an electric vehicle, and BMW have done a very, very good job with it. So now, to see how it compares, let's go and test out the X7. Right, so we're in the X7 now, and this is hands down easily the biggest car that I think I've ever driven in my life. You cannot underestimate what a big presence this is on the road, and you can really feel it when you're sat here. You feel very high up, you feel very powerful. All the other cars look tiny in front of you. You cannot underestimate that initial feeling when you first get in here. However, obviously going from the i7 before this, there are quite a few similarities with it. So they both obviously have the adaptive air suspension, which eyes down a lot of the bumps and potholes and stuff in the roads. Obviously, as I mentioned before, roads aren't great, so having that feature is really a standout on both of those for me. It kind of feels like you're kind of sitting on top of the world. It doesn't feel impossible to maneuver. You have got the same as with the i7, your 360 camera. You've got they've got so many different views that you can use to help you maneuver with this car, which I definitely have been using driving it. But it does then make it easy to use on the day-to-day. It is probably a very more family-orientated car compared to the i7. Obviously, we've talked about all the seats back in the back as well, and the space in here, it does make it pretty much ideal for a family if you've got a big family, and also just having extra people in the car, it does give you that ability to do that, which you don't get in the i7. It is very much just the 5 seats in there. Slightly smaller, less space, but again, with both these cars, very similar to drive, obviously just being a little bit bigger. Very similar to sit in, still very luxurious. The luxury is probably a little bit more prevalent in the i7. It's still there in the X7, so I've still got the massage seats on, I've got ventilated seats on, I've still got heated steering wheels and all those kind of BMW wow factors that we love. But I think it's just a couple of bits like the crystal clarity option just isn't here in the X7, which you don't really necessarily miss that much in the i7, sorry. It just is that standout factor because of what it is the ultimate electric luxury vehicle, but this definitely still stands out as the ultimate luxury SUV. So obviously going from the i7 to the X7, there is obviously a big difference between electric and internal combustion engine cars, but personally driving them, they don't feel too different. They're both so smooth to drive and so easy to drive around. It feels so relaxing. This could easily feel like an electric car when you're driving it, but it isn't. It is a diesel, and with it being a diesel, it is one of the last models that you will actually get as a BMW with a diesel engine, which is definitely a unique selling point for this car if you do love a diesel engine, which personally I do think I do. So this is the 3-litre 6-cylinder engine. You do get 0-62 miles an hour in 5.9 seconds, and it does have around about 335 horsepower. In summary, both the BMW X7 and i7 do luxury very, very well. They're so luxurious to drive, so smooth, so high tech. Anything you could possibly want from a car is in either of these cars. The main difference is just what they're set up for, with the X7 just being set up that little bit more for the family with all the 7 seats and just that little bit more of a bigger group of people who are going to go out more regularly, whereas with the i7 it's probably more just for the day-to-day, more business. So at the end of the day, the difference between this car is up to the individual person who's driving it. So if you're looking for more of a family car, then probably the X7 is going to be there because it's still going to have that luxury for you. But if you don't have the family need for a big family car, then the i7 will probably be more for you. So it's completely up to the person's preference and their situation on which car would probably be best. So there you have it, the ultimate luxury electric in the BMW i7 and the ultimate luxury SUV in the BMW X7. The cream of the cream when it comes to BMW's Grand Klasse Luxury range. So as always, let us know in the comments which of these two cars you would like to be taking home, and if you want to take a closer look, then pop down to your local Sytner BMW retailer where you can book a test drive and test one out for yourself.